Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to check out this cool, non-traditional Fender American QMT Telecaster, better known as the Pale Moon Tele. So why exactly does this weird guitar even exist, despite it being so beautiful? Well, it's a Guitar Center exclusive that was done up in November of 2019 for the Black Friday sales. These were essentially meant to be the attention getter pieces that they ran advertisements for. So, within these limited edition Guitar Center exclusives were three models. There's the Pale Moon Telecaster, the Pale Moon Stratocaster, and then on the other side of the guitar world, there was the Gibson Les Paul Dark Knight. Now, what did all three of these guitars have in common? A trans black finish with a quilt maple top. For today's episode, I'm just going to talk about the Fenders though, because I'm still on the fence if I want to review the Dark Knight or not. The Strat and Tele both retailed at $24.99, which is rather expensive for one of these, $2,500. They featured alder bodies with quilt maple top veneers, as well as maple necks. And as far as specs go, they were modern, but not too modern. So what I mean by that is you have locking tuners, a compound radius fretboard, but you don't have things like the ultra heel cutaway or anything like that. It's still a traditional Telecaster in that sense. Besides these things looking nice, what makes them demand a premium price is their fretboard. Take a look at this thing. This is called Pale Moon Ebony. If you've never heard of that before, this was my first time seeing one of these on a guitar too. It can also be referred to as black and white ebony or even Malabar ebony. But this is a Southeast Asian wood that's in relatively short supply. And wood enthusiasts and luthiers love this wood because of the intricate wood grains that can happen in this. It has a pale yellow base, but with unpredictable bold black lines and streaks running up and down it. It really is an interesting looking fretboard material. But this wood also has a self-destructing habit of when you harvest it, it easily cracks, it'll start warping and changing shape if it's not coated in a wax right away. So it's not an endangered wood by any means, but it is a little bit hard to source, especially for a mass production run of guitars. Previous to this run, Fender had only used this in a few custom shop guitars, or so I'm told anyways. I was unable to actually find a photo of another Fender with this fretboard. But what I did find these fretboards on were like shredder metal guy guitars, and that's pretty much what these things are emulating, because they all have that same dark black finish, usually with a quilty or a burl maple top. And to be honest, I think this looks better on extended range guitars, 7, 8 strings or big basses, because then you can see more of the intricate black blotching of the fretboard. When it's on a 6-string guitar like this, there's certain examples that look fantastic, such as this one and the ones they used in their advertisements, and then there's other ones that look like this, a little bit plain. It just kind of looks like streaky ebony, which is a little bit more common. But apparently it took Fender 2 years to source the wood for these fretboards for this limited edition run. So it's been a long time in the making, and I was able to get at a Fender, which is kind of rare, that they made 350 of these Pale Moon Telecasters. I'm assuming the Stratocasters are at a very similar number, similar to the Dark Knight Les Paul. So it's just a fancy guitar with a fretboard that you don't normally see on a Fender guitar. That's what makes these things special. It was limited edition, and that's why these things will become collectible one day. But now that we got the history and understand this model, what are my first impressions of this thing? Picking it up, the first thing I notice is, this body actually has some pretty good weight to it. It's not like ridiculously heavy, but it definitely lets you know you're playing a guitar. And everything else for me is just purely cosmetic. What I'm really digging here is you have this straight, simple black pickguard, and it matches perfectly with the headstock. I actually had some people in the unboxing video for this one complain that they didn't like the black headstock, but for me, I love it, especially when you have the exposed sides of the maple neck. On top of that, you have a cool silver Fender logo that just kind of appears and runs away depending on the lighting situation. Next up, once again, I love the marbling of this fretboard. And, normally streaky ebony's not my thing, but this one, it just looks like clouds rolling in on a pale moon sky. You can also see that they gave these things white dot inlays. I'm a little bit sad for $2,500 that they couldn't do mother of pearl, or maybe even abalone would have looked nice on this. That was kind of a missed opportunity, and they also have the side markers as the white dots. And personally, if I was trying to use this on stage and it was dark, it would be very hard to see those markers, so I could see a lot of people not liking that feature of this guitar. But speaking of the side profile view here, that's one of my favorite views of this guitar. And if you want to know why, it's because it reminds me of a Hershey's Cookies and Cream chocolate bar. Now that I've said it, you will never see this guitar the same again. Fretboard's just so beautifully delicious, I would love to take a bite, but it probably wouldn't taste so good. I also really appreciate the fact that we have the brass saddles because the colors just kind of line up perfectly with the fretboard. So we've got saddles, fretboard, pickguard, headstock, and then everything just kind of ties in with this beautiful quilty maple top. But unfortunately, I've got to say, this quilt maple top veneer let me down. There's not much depth to this one. It looks like it's just like a photo. It doesn't move too much in the light. So I think if you're selecting one of these, definitely go for one that has the really intricate wood grain pattern lines on the fretboard. Because so far, I haven't been that impressed with the tops on these things in person. But other than that, this is just a cool Tele, so let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench and take a look at its individual parts and specs. Inside the Pale Moon Telecaster. Not too much going on, but we might as well take a look anyways. So the pickups in this one are called custom hot single coils. You can see on the back they actually have the marking GC for Guitar Center. And that's both the neck pickup as well as the bridge pickup. So other than that, there's not a bunch of identifying characteristics here. But the back of the pickguard does have a little barcode, and once again you can see the GC standing for Guitar Center Exclusive American Pro Telecaster. But underneath this pickguard, in case you're interested in modifying this, you do have a humbucker route with a single coil route. And besides that, just a few more barcodes under here, and then a grounding tab right there. The bridge pickup cavity doesn't have too much going on there. And this is what the backside of the bridge looks like. We do have compensated brass saddles on here. That's kind of a nice feature. And you can also see right between the saddles and the pickup is the Fender logo. And this bridge just secures to the body by those 4 screw holes right there. Then there's 2 in the front. But what's kind of interesting is I'm not really sure what that tiny little route is for. I would imagine that'd be for a grounding wire, but there doesn't appear to be one there. Interesting. I didn't notice anything out of place while playing it though. And this one's a string-through style Telecaster. Moving on to the control layout, it's nothing fancy here. You just have a master volume with a master tone and a 3-way toggle switch, and you can see what those look like right here. And inside the cavity you can see once again a little grounding tab and just a bunch of other wires. It's not chambered or anything. Unfortunately, due to all the shielding paint, we can't actually see how thick the veneer is, but I'm guessing it's paper thin. But besides the quilty maple veneer, you have an alder body on this one. And then you move on to the neck. This is the main feature for this guitar, the one that gave it its name, the Pale Moon Ebony. This is such a fantastic example. I really love this one. But as far as the fret wire goes, you have medium jumbos on here. They are nice and comfortable to play. And the specs are a little bit conflicting because the official spec sheet I got from Fender says it's a 9.5-inch radius. However, the Guitar Center specs online advertise it as a compound radius, but don't tell you what compound radius. So maybe it starts at the 9.5 and moves to 14. Unfortunately, I don't have radius gauge feelers to measure that. But I do want to elaborate a little bit more on this Pale Moon Ebony board. I was expecting it to be like regular ebony, but it's not. This actually has a satin finish over it, so it feels more like a maple fretboard while you're playing it. And since it has a satin finish, it kind of keeps that really paleness to it, which I think is what they were going for. But I can't help to think what this could have actually looked like, because once you move to the gloss finish on the headstock, look how beautiful and rich that looks. Imagine this with such a nice dark color on it. I think that also would have looked good, but maybe wasn't what they were going for. And this is a 22 fret Telecaster. As far as neck specs go, I get 1.67 inches at the nut. That increases to 2.01 at the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.82. That chunks up a bit to 0.9 at the 12th. And what's kind of unique about this one is it has the modern C, which moves into a modern D neck. So what that means for you is it's nice and rounded right here. It's great for playing chords, but when you're up into the solo territory, the neck kind of flattens and thins out, both as the neck profile and potentially even the radius of the fretboard. So it is a very comfortable guitar to play all kinds of genres on. Moving on to the face of the headstock, it has a matching black finish with a silver Fender Telecaster logo and a single string tree. And you do have a dual action truss rod that you adjust from right there. Now, I looked these guitars over with a fine-tooth comb, and this is the only small factory defect I can see, is that it's a little bit uneven when they were putting the finish on the face of the headstock. You can see the black finish runs over in certain areas a little bit more than others. Is it a big deal? No, but I figured I might as well point it out. It's probably hard to get it to be perfect since it is a slightly rounded edge anyways. And we do have locking tuners on this one, which is a nice addition. As far as pickup readings go, the neck position is a 5.82, middle position is 3.28, and the bridge pickup is a nice hot 7.29. Moving on to the back of the guitar, I feel this is a huge missed opportunity. I get it on the Stratocaster because you have a bunch of contours and all that stuff, but this should have also had a quilted maple veneer on the back. It would have been so simple to do and made this look so much cooler. But it is a string-through Telecaster with just a black finish on the back. You've got your output jack right here and just regular strap buttons in their regular locations. Here's your neck plate with your micro tilt adjustment. And I think I would have preferred if they would have tinted the neck a little bit. But again, I get it. They're going for a pale moon. So a pale maple neck also kind of makes sense here. But from a side profile view, a darker color I think would have paired a little bit better with this board and made it pop more. Because right now it just kind of looks like a continuation of the maple neck, which is kind of cool in its own right though. And on the back, you can find your serial number as well as see the locking Fender tuners. This example weighs 8 pounds, 0.3 ounces. Let's go ahead and plug it in and hear how it sounds.
So how does it feel to play this thing?
honestly, it doesn't feel that much different from a satin maple fretboard, but it just kind of has a completely different look to it. Now, as far as the tones go on this thing, it is a very hot sounding Telecaster. I find that I need to dial my amp settings back a little bit on the treble or roll down on your tone knob just a hair. For example, here's a chord on the neck position. So you can go from super bright to what I would prefer it to be, to all the way rolled back if that's what you want. Same thing kind of goes for the bridge. Now that we know all about the Pale Moon Telecaster, what are my final thoughts on this thing? If you like the look of this guitar, you're gonna buy it because, well, it's just beautiful. It's gonna become a collector's item, especially if you get one with a nice fretboard. However, is it necessarily better than like an American Elite or an Ultra or any other Fender guitar? No. I mean, you're paying for the limited edition status of this and the exotic tone woods. There's a few playability things about this for on stage, like I was talking about the white side marker inlays not being so good to see on stage, as well as a few other things that I would have customized to make this guitar even more special. But overall, it's definitely a win for me because this is one cool Telecaster. If you're interested in owning one of these for yourselves, this one's not for sale. It's actually already been spoken for, so we'll have to box this one up on the next packing and unboxing episode. But once again, these are Guitar Center exclusive runs, so maybe you can check one out at a location near you. But other than that, let's go ahead and take a look at this one under Blacklight just to see if there's anything fun. Well, I'm definitely glad I did this. You get a little bit of glowing going on here with the body, but what I really appreciate is take a look at this fretboard. The Pale Moon Ebony, the pale part of it, actually fluoresces a little bit. And I think that's because of that finish that they put over it. That just has a really cool phenomenon to it. Awesome. But face of the headstock, nothing too much going on here. Then you get to the back of your neck. Once again, those satin finishes just seem to glow a little bit. But nothing else too crazy here. If you decide to order one of these guitars, they actually get a slightly special looking case. It's got the black trim with the white, and then it kind of has that creamy paleness to it right here, which I think looks really cool. So this case matches this guitar perfectly, especially when you open it, because the quiltiness of the top kind of matches the plushness right here. So it's just kind of a cool complementary combo right here. As with most Fender guitars, inside here you get a little certificate of authenticity and some of the truss rod adjustment tools. I'm not going to bother going into those. We've seen them enough times, I think. But I hope you troglodytes enjoyed taking an in-depth look at the new Pale Moon Telecaster. Let me know if you want me to check out that Dark Knight Les Paul or not. I'm still kind of on the fence about it myself, but hey, maybe we'll get it if there's a cool one out there. Thank you, troglodytes, for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.